Can we have Larry, please? Shilling? Good afternoon. How are you?
I'd like to thank Senator Gasani and the members of the Environmental Conservation Committee for the opportunity to brief the committee today on the issue and for allowing us to share our expertise in managing the waste and resource challenges associated with shale drilling. My name is Larry Shilling. I'm Regional Vice President for Casella Waste Systems, Inc. I am responsible for all of the company's operations in New York, Pennsylvania, and Vermont. Casella Waste Systems provides collection, recycling, energy, organics, and disposal services throughout what would be considered rural northeastern U.S. as well as the Boston area. We serve communities throughout Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine. We were founded in 1975 and are headquartered in Rutland, Vermont. We employ approximately 500 people in New York State. We have been part of New York State's resource management efforts since 1995 and have formed extensive and successful private-public partnerships with several upstate counties, providing operating expertise and economic risk management for all-inclusive county solid waste infrastructures, more specifically managing disposal and recycling assets for Clinton County, Ontario County, and Chemung County. We have worked extensively as well with New York State Department of Environmental Conservation on leveraging proactive integrated waste management approaches such as the first single-stream recycling processing facility in New York State to help New York State shape a resource conservation future. As for the question of whether or not a ban on shale drilling should be lifted in New York, we are not here today to take a position on that issue, which we recognize has many facets. Instead, we are here today to give the committee a sense of how the waste stream associated with shale drilling can be managed safely within New York State's regulatory approach. As we all know, drilling for natural gas has occurred for decades in New York State. We have on occasion disposed of customers' drill cuttings for many years. When the level of activity around this waste stream began to grow at our facility in Chemung County, which as you know sits very near the border of Pennsylvania and the Marcellus Shale activity, we thought it prudent and desirable to learn as much as we could about drill cuttings and as a disposal material. We thoroughly investigated the environmental, health, and safety impacts of drilling, disposal, in furtherance of our responsibility to effectively and safely manage this material once it came through the gates of our facilities. These studies were conducted with the involvement and cooperation of resources at the DEC. DEC has been engaged in the evaluation of many of the issues we identified, which has been extremely helpful while we proceeded with developing an approach that worked for us, our personnel, and the environment. After extensive study, we were able to identify a number of best management practices for drill cutting transportation and disposal, which we've now implemented. We keep all material more than 6 feet from the bottom of the landfill. We keep all material at least 10 feet from the landfill's final cap. We installed radiation detectors at the incoming gate of our facility. We track this waste separately. We chemically test and confirm that this waste is appropriate for disposal in a municipal solid waste facility through an extensive special waste approval protocol, and we require that all transporters of this waste be licensed and that all loads delivered to us be manifested. Radiation detectors have verified our research and analysis that drill cuttings do not present any significant health, safety, or environmental issues. For example, to date, the radiation detectors have only alarmed twice, and neither alarm was caused by drilling waste. In the first case, the driver of the collection vehicle had recently received radiation therapy related to cancer treatment and was found to be the source of the alarm. In the second instance, the responsible load was found to contain municipal solid waste only and in fact was contaminated with medical treatment waste, likely from a patient that had been released and sent home from a hospital. No drill cutting loads have set off an alarm at any of the detectors at any of our 3 landfills in New York State that have accepted these waste. Overall, we do not view this waste stream as any more or less challenging than other waste we accept for disposal. Many waste streams require special handling or tracking, and this waste is no different. Our study of this issue continues since this industry has emerged at a level we expect will be steady for at least the next 2 decades or more. We are currently researching alternative transportation and material handling methods to reduce traffic both at well sites and around our facilities, a benefit for all. Through our relationship with natural gas production companies, we also learned that they were looking for proactive waste and resource management solutions for the treatment, disposal, and acquisition of water. The significance and longevity of the shale play has caused us once again to thoughtfully and extensively analyze and research opportunities to manage flowback and produce water. With our background and commitment to resource renewal, we have decided to pursue water treatment services for the industry. After extensive research, we have formed a joint venture with Altella, an Albuquerque, New Mexico-based company. Altella has developed a technology that treats flowback and produced water through heating, condensing, and distilling the highly brackish drill wastewater, essentially mimicking the billion-year-old process of producing rain. Much of the wastewater winds up as a highly purified distilled water. The remaining component is a salt water that can be combined with other material at our landfill to produce a solid that can be landfilled or turned into other beneficial use products. DEC's draft supplemental GEIS on drilling has suggested that distillation is one of the best, if not the best, treatment solutions. Altella's technology has been operating at a plant in Pennsylvania since January 2011 and is proving to be highly successful. Our plan is to locate this technology at our landfills. The benefits of doing so are significant, particularly from an environmental impact perspective. Drilling companies can bring their wastewater directly to one facility and leave with distilled or recycled water to return to their drill sites. This one-stop service would reduce the need for water withdrawal from our lakes and streams and transportation-related carbon emissions. Landfill staff are already trained and experienced in managing lagoons and water storage, as demonstrated by our need to deal with leachate that is produced at the landfill. Extensive groundwater monitoring systems are already permitted and monitored extensively by the company and the DEC at our landfill facilities. And the wastewater treatment process would be powered by the energy we produce from harvesting and converting methane gas from our landfill, meaning the process is near carbon neutral. The bottom line in our view is that wastewater from drilling can be managed safely and with a measure of innovation that advances New York State's resource sustainability goals. In fact, in the larger picture, waste from the natural gas industry does not present any challenges that are any different than any other industry we serve. Through innovation, technology, and existing regulatory protections, New York State is more than equal to the task of managing these waste streams proactively, safely, sensibly, and without any risk to the public health. Again, thank you for the opportunity to share our experience and expertise with the committee.
Thank you, Larry. It seems by harvesting that energy and converting methane gas, that's where because we were talking about this earlier, that it's very costs a lot of money to do certain procedures, but you're actually
because we have
working within your own system.
Exactly. We have to collect the methane anyway, and at some facilities we produce electricity.
Right.
And off of those engines, the exhaust gas is 1,000 degrees coming out of the exhaust. So that has a lot of capability of driving a process of distillation. Other facilities, we don't have energy plants yet, but we have flares. So we have a gas supply that is not from fossil fuel, but from the landfill, and that can be used to drive this process as well.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your testimony. Further, turn it over to Senator Gallivan.
Oh, just a couple questions about the cuttings that are disposed of at the Shilling landfill.
Yes.
And you instituted a number of different specific procedures in addition to what you're doing with other waste. So while you're still complying with these procedures, do you keep the cuttings all in one location, or is it spread throughout the landfill?
It is mixed in with the rest of the waste.
And the testing that is done, it's at the incoming gate. Do you regularly test throughout the landfill for radiation?
No, we haven't tested throughout the landfill. Where the trucks come in at the scales, they run through the radiation detectors for that.
Okay. Now, You made, in your testimony, you talked about the steadiness or level, if this goes forward, for at least the next 2 decades or more. Do you have the capacity to handle the cuttings for 2 decades?
We do. I mean, the level of activity will be something that will change. We manage facilities, and we have quite a bit of capacity from a landfill standpoint, as well as the ability to increase that capacity as time goes on. So we would gauge our capacity with the needs of the market.
Under the current proposed regulations,
Yep.
will anything change for you? Will you have additional restrictions or additional record-keeping responsibilities than you have now, or will they remain the same or less?
We implemented some of those changes that are proposed in those regulations early on. So it is worth mentioning that when I mentioned that in my testimony that we worked with the DEC, we produced a couple documents, several hundred pages of information, went out and did our own studies and developed these best management practices really long before the DSGIS even came out. So this is not very different. What we're doing today is the same as what's in the GIS.
So you're doing this today, essentially adopting best practices, but in the future, what you're doing will be required.
Correct.
I mean, if the proposed regulations stay as is.
That's correct.
And
So
it
the
goes
thing
forward.
that'll change is today we have our own form that we track drill cuttings with, that the driver carries with them. Tomorrow, when the DSGIS is approved, we'll use a state form that is issued by the DEC.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have is Sandra here?